Right, we'll start then. Right, so like I said earlier, what we're going to do is we're just going to do a bit of shoemaking, sort of looking towards shoe boards, and also keeping it like a simple thing, which, you know, a lot of shoes like lateral extensions get used every day now. So we're just going to go through, and again, if you make these shoes, if you make them in pairs, stick them on the shelf, your boss can always use them, so you're not really wasting still. Again, lateral extensions, you can make it out of concave, you can make them out of flat, plain standard and fullerene. A lot of people nowadays tend to use fullerene as a means to spread the material. Sometimes it doesn't spread it enough, but you know, just out of an ordinary machine-made shoe, by double fullerene and hammer boxing, you can stretch the web of the material, and also there's lots of inserts nowadays, we can weld those on to get the same effect. But obviously we're going to talk about how to make them. Today I'm making them out of flat steel, bit of inch 5/16. And again, it's quite important to know if we're making orthotic shoes. Let me just turn the volume down on that. If we're making remedial shoes, very often we're adding more material into the shoe, be it by a bar, extension, etc. Obviously, if that horse has got a problem, the last thing we want to do is start increasing the weights of that limb. So, you know, the most efficient way of making it and making them out of the lightest sections possible is quite important when it comes to remedial horseshoeing. So, one of the reasons we're going to talk about lateral extension hinds is when you look on social media, you see so many of them done badly. And what I mean by that is they've either pumped the shoe like with steroids to sort of over-exaggerate it. Very often, these things are just need to be a subtle extension just to kind of, you know, make the foot symmetrical, because for some reason, be it conformation or through injury, the hoof capsule has shunted or contracted on one side. So what the idea of the shoe is to trick the horse into thinking that it's actually got a symmetrical foot. So, and the common misconception is when we make a lateral extension, we get the extension and we slap it on the outside. Well, the actual bearing point of the heel would have contracted in. So although if we are using these prefabricated ones, we are going to sort of weld it on the outside and flip the heel on, realistically, the extension's actually going on the inside, because what we're trying to achieve is the shoe needs to fit the foot where it is, but we're trying to fit the outside border of the shoe to where the foot should be. So that alone wouldn't constitute as a lateral extension, we'd have to flick that heel on. Okay? One of the other problems you see with lateral extensions quite often on Facebook is the heel design. What you'll see is they'll put a reverse heel check on the shoe, so the back part of the heel is parallel to the toe, which is fine, but then they'll just run it into a sharp pointed corner. When you fit this shoe, the substance of this shoe still needs to cover that heel. So if you imagine this shoe going on a contracted heel, we'd have to flick the heel on, so the centre of the heel is fitted to that, and then we add our extension to the outside of it. You know, and again, as you can see there, we've still got a stone check in it, we don't have a sharp corner. If we fit a sharp corner, we're either going to fit the heel to the inside border, which is then not going to support the heel fully, and the extension is just going to become a lever arm to crush the heel even more, or we're going to sit the corner of that point onto the frog and cause potential lameness by that digging into this soft part of the frog. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to go through some of the basic techniques of making this shoe. Now, again, a lot of people at your stage, you know, the basic shoemaking, the basic principles are about there. When you showed with your assessment 2 days ago that you've all kept on top of your shoemaking, it's going in the right direction. There's a few things we need to practice. Just because we're going to do something different doesn't mean everything goes out the window and we start panicking, because all we're going to do is swell one end of the steel and make a normal shoe around it. Okay, there's a few variables which change, but we'll talk about them as they come up. There's no need to overcomplicate this. Again, there's no point over exaggerating the extension. You know, we can, just by hammer boxing or placement with fullerene, we can stretch that material to make it bigger anyway, okay? And remember, with a lateral extension, there's different types of extension. Let me just find a pen. Okay, so let's, cameraman. Okay, so let's look at this hind foot here. So the normal thing you normally see on social media is what we call a lateral heel extension. Okay, that's not a full lateral extension, that's just from the widest part back. A full lateral extension will either come out from the toe quarter and gradually come out all the way around, okay, to the heel, with our stone check on, fit the foot like that. Or sometimes, you know, especially in cases of spabbing and that, we'll put on a full lateral extension which comes out square from the toe and follows the foot all the way back like so. So there's lots of different variants. Again, at diploma level, when you put one of these shoes on the board, not only is it showing your forging ability and what you can do on an anvil, it's also, you've got to understand how that shoe works and how it biomechanically affects the horse. Okay, that's really, really important. Never put a shoe on your shoe board which you saw on Facebook or you made at a competition but you haven't got a clue what it's for, because the examiner will be all over you like a rash. Okay, so we're just going to go through the basic fundamentals. All we're going to do is we're going to give a slight lateral extension, probably from the second nail hole back, okay, on the outside. So I'm going to make this for a 12.5-inch foot. I've got just under 13.5 inches there. Now, what I need to do first of all is just swell my inside slightly. I think I've added an extra 3/4 of an inch to that. So I'm going to jump that 3/4 of an inch into that outside branch. Okay, that'll give me plenty of material. It's not going to be like over the top, but I'm going to just swell that and give myself something to play with. But I'm going to do that on the straight, and that's the first one I'm going to jump. So, bear with me. So a little tip, when we jump up this hill, we're going to want the last 3 to 4 inches of material hot, probably about 4 inches. Before I start jumping it, the very bottom of the hot end, I'm just going to quench that, probably about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. As I jump it, the heat will migrate back down into it, but it stops you getting like a mushroom end on it. No one likes a mushroom end. Okay? Keeps the whole thing tidier. Okay, so I've just pulled out the end part of it. We'll get that bit. Not doing it at an angle. Keep control of the still. So this material will bend more, obviously because it's thin. Obviously important to keep it straight, because once it bends it's just going to bend and not jump. At this point, stick your ruler on it. We're looking for 12.5 inches. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, obviously it's thicker just beyond the heel, so I'm just going to get another heat on it, put a couple of slaps into it, and then forge my outside heel. Again, trying to get the angle so it will end up parallel to the toe and take my stone trap out as well, so it doesn't sit on the front. The importance with this reverse heel check, I mean, unless you're going to do a hammer finish shoe, you know, you can always manipulate it. Like, don't get too hung up trying to get the angle right, because you can always manipulate it once the shoe's finished by using rasp. So, straight away, forging my heel. This is going to be the outside border. Let's just get that warm again. Here we go again. So, this is the outside border, so this is the reverse heel check part, if you like. I'm just coming, not too much of a slope, I'm just pushing that back in on itself. I'm just changing the angle of it. And then, onto the stone trap. Again, not too sloping, just taking that corner off. Just coming flat on the hammer, hitting the same spot, and just pushing that material back. Remember, make sure you forge it down to the required section. Again, what a lot of people always do, when they jump something up, but let it go fat, we don't flatten it back down. Remember, it's the width we want, not the height. Probably just a quick one just to finish the heel off. Right. So as you can see there, we've got a stone trap here and our reverse heel check there. Again, I'm not over-angulated it because I can always change up a rasp at the end. Right, so I should have 12.5 inches. So at this point, I know when I fit this, I need to fit it slightly longer on the outside for it to work, because I've got to come out and support foot, which isn't there. So, again, mark it off centre, right? You know, it's up to you. You can either put your toe bend in now, or you can put your markers in play. You know, we just make a normal shoe, for want of a better word. Now, a shoe this size, you know, we're going to do something with that toe, in the sense, we'll stick a hammer over it, we'll put a slight roll on it, we'll save the toe off so it looks sweet. We don't really need to jump that up. You know, we're just adding weight to it. We put that kind of section on, it's probably going to be working on the surface, it ain't going to wear the toe. So we don't need to then start jumping the toe up. Just a quick thing for you as well, quick tip. If you are doing a lot of jump work on your shoe, to make sure that you've got it down to the right section, just get your tongs, which is, you know, and just run your tongs down it. If it's fat, like it is there, it will feel fat. You know, that's how we find out if something's getting fat. We give it a squeeze. Okay, right, so straight into the toe bend now. This will be uploaded on the Facebook group when it's finished, and I'll also try and upload it to Teams as well, so if you have missed anything, so just centralise the heat there, and stick toe bend in. So, normal toe bend, fine toe bend. Obviously we're going to put side clips on this, or cork clips. And it's important, but a lot of people go wrong with shoes like this, is they get so hung up on this lateral extension, they don't concentrate on their toe bends, and then wonder why the shoe's not balanced. So you've got to concentrate on the basics. Warm again, just save it off. Save the toe off. Front. Okay, so that's our toe bend. Now, obviously normally, traditionally, we always turn the outside branch first. For me, if I've got what I call an irregular shoe, so say a lateral extension, a side bone shoe, where the outside branch is different to a normal shoe, I tend to personally make the inside branch first. Because the inside branch is going to be a normal branch. So when I'm now trying to make the outside branch into something not normal, but still to imply symmetry to the outside border, I always find it easier to turn the inside branch first, because that's like a constant, that's a normal shoe. Foot shape. So okay, with this one, I'm just going to do my inside branch first. Obviously going to thin up the inside border only a little bit as per normal, nothing excessive just because it's a lateral extension. Okay, and then fuller it and turn it. On. just fill up with the last inch or so. And forward to the normal heel. So while I've got the heat on it, I'm just going to start marking the fullering. Remember, at the start of your fullering, don't go back too far, because you know, when it comes to putting on the foot, you might want to stretch it. If you have to shorten it and you fuller too far back, then you can't shorten the shoe too much because of that. Okay, so get it warm, fuller it to half depth, and then turn it. Again, some people like to turn the branch before they fuller it, but it's personal preference. Again, depending what section you make the shoe out of, if you're going to mess around with inch 5/16 or even 3/4 5/16, remember technically you're going to need a wider fuller. There are ways of leaning your hand out to make the fuller a little bit wider, but obviously see if you can go your fuller wider, the fuller it's going to be. And again, there's other variants of nails out there which fit 5/16 a lot better, like MXs, etc. Remember your fullering, stay parallel with the back border of the shoe. And if you do blow material out, simply run it back in. What you would have noted, I didn't hem the material before I started. I do it afterwards. Again, that's personal preference. Okay, so, but I've got 1, 2, 3 parallel lines. That's really important with fullering. The few of the fullered shoes guys made on Tuesday, where the fullering was just, especially towards the heel, starting to run towards the outside of a shoe. Doesn't really affect the horse. Could affect your nail alignment. Doesn't look great. Okay. Now, we talk a lot, and this is why a lot of putting your features on a shoe is so important. We talk a lot about balance and foot, balance fit. If our features are not in the right place on the shoe, it throws our eye out and we end up swinging heels on a bit too much, or putting the shoes off balance because we forget the actual features we put on word balance. So I've got the fuller into half depth now, so I'm just going to turn it, fuller it, now roll it. So just a normal standard pine shape now. Plenty of curve in the heel, remember it's an inside heel. Make sure our quarter's in the right place. And then just go through our fullering. Obviously normal inside nail pattern, don't go too close to the toe, make sure you can fit your nail head in there. Okay, so we're just going to go around our edges, pen the corners in, put some flow into the branch. Okay, check our proportioning, toenails in line with the centre of the heel. So that's a normal 3/4 footed hind shape. Okay, just going to go through the fluorine again, just going to get a dull heat on it, give it a final tidy up before I move on to the outside. Okay, so don't forget to box it off with your hammer a little bit, take the outside border off. Okay, then I'm just going to go through, just clean up the fuller in. Nice and gentle, don't want to go through the section. And then just go through. Open an arrow up in the prick drill. You know, shoe this size, we want to get either an E4 slim or similar size nail. So you always make sure with these flat shoes you work our inside border down because that will scrunch up when we turn it. So what we've got there is half our shoe. And if we draw a line through the toe, sort of through the edge of the anvil, what we've now got to achieve is get the centre of that heel in line with that line there. However, point to note, if we're fitting a lateral extension, you'll always find that your outside quarter needs to be a lot earlier than the inside quarter. And that's because you're coming out and you're fitting with width. And it's normally certainly the widest part, you hit that, giving it a bit of support, and then you stay out. Okay, so that quarter is going to appear earlier, so you can hit the quarter with width. That's really, really important. Sometimes you see lateral heel extensions where they cut straight through the quarter and then flick on at the end. That won't fit the foot, and it will not do anything for that foot. So it's important that our quarter goes in earlier. From that quarter, the shoe's a lot straighter to where it fits the heel. That's to give you that gradual, you come out of the outside quarter and you stay out. Hence why we put the extra material on the inside border of the shoe. Okay? So, and that is why we do the inside first, because we put a normal inside on it. When we're happy with that, we know that when we break our quarter on the outside, we break it a little bit further forward at that point. Yes, that is inch 5/16, but when you make one of these, it does whatever you've got available, okay, and size to suit. So obviously, first thing I'm going to do before I turn it is just fuller it, but again, make sure, because we're going to give width, that we follow this inside border and we come up the centre of the still. Okay, we're only going to start to come out towards the toe because that's going to fit normally. Okay, so I've got the fullering in there. Okay, it's following the inside border. quarter. Turn the shoe. Okay, so remember I said we're going to break that quarter earlier. Start to drop the hand to the heel. And just do it in small increments, don't overdo it. Because it's very hard to put it back right once you've done it. Okay, so when I'm happy, I'll just get it hot again and go back through the following. Yes, you know we need the new hood on the fire. Right, so I talked about normal position on the inside nails, which is what it needs to be. Your outside nails, you're going to have to compress a bit further. Normally the outside nails are further back than the inside nails, but because of you've got a contracted heel, so you want to allow that to expand, so you don't want to be sticking nails in the heel. So you need to scrunch them forward a bit. So just come forward a quarter. Very often when I'm nailing these on, I'll only use 2 nails anyway, but you can put 3 in there. They just need to be closer together than the inside nails. Okay, so get back in the fire, just tidy up our fillery, our edges. Okay, that went too hot for that. So again, very lightly, just go around with your fullering, just clean it up, tidy it up. Okay, so when we line that shoe up, the inside's in line with the centre of the heel with the toenail. Obviously, the centre of the heel where the foot has contracted is going to be in line with that, which is in line with the toenail. So this is actually where the foot should be. Okay, remember the extension is technically on this part of the foot, so it's covering where the foot is now, whereas that's covering where the foot should be. Okay. As you can see, just by forging, I've managed to more or less get my reverse check parallel to the toe. However, when I come to rasp this up, I probably will put a little bit more of an angle on it just to make it look sweet. Again, that's not really important though, so don't get too hung up on it. As you can see, as far as an extension goes, quite a noticeable distance between the inside and the outside. If I wanted to, I could quite easily gain any more because I've not hammer boxed that outside off yet. If I was taking this out shoeing tomorrow to go and see a horse, I'd probably leave it like that, and then if I need it to be a bit bigger when I get on the job, I'll pan it down with a hammer to give it a little bit more. If I've got enough, then I'll just linish the boxing off or rasp it off and remove some material. So I'm just going to go through the hammer boxing now just to see how much, if we look at it there, how wide we are. So I'm just going to show you a few tricks to make it wider if necessary. Again, it depends on the hoof capsule morphology, how far we want to take this. Okay, so see how far we can improve that with hammer boxing. And again, when we're hammer boxing, we don't need it too warm. Get a nice finish if it's a nice red heat. Okay, and all we're going to do, I personally normally start at the heel. So everywhere we box it and fit it with width, we just come in and take the edge off of the hammer, obviously round to the quarter, and increase it towards the heel. So straight away, you can see, again, because we've hammer boxed it, it's pushed that bottom corner out. So again, to get the reverse heel check, we need to chop that off with a rasp. But you can see how much more material we've given it around there. And that, we already had enough, but we've gained a lot more through hammer boxing. Last thing I'm just going to show you is if we need to expand it more, we could always run a piece of reverse fuller in and overlap them. Or we can either fuller all the way back and put a stop end in, or we can overlap the fuller in just to spread it where we want it. The important part of this, and this is where you see so many people get it wrong, okay, if you're going to do that, you need to fuller on the inside, okay, of your pre-existing fullering. That's where we want to spread the material so it supports the heel. But if we put it on the outside, like some people do, that is going to wear, that horse is probably going to be landing heavy on that outside anyway, hence why the heel's crushed. Once that wears that corner away, we then run into the fullering and we've created a void. We've created a space for nothing to go. So if we fuller on the outside, it's going to wear a lot quicker. We're going to lose that outside edge where we're trying to support the foot, okay, and we'll create a void. So we might as well just put an ordinary shoe in it anyway. Okay, so it's always important that if we're going to put a secondary piece of fuller in, we go up the inside of the material. You know, as farriers, everything we do, there's a reason why it goes there, okay, and it just shows that we're thinking. So, get my fuller in, I'll put my stop end in the corner there. Okay, and then I'll just blend it down. So overlap, to make it look pretty. And again, that just gives us a little bit more if we need it. But they're all little things we can do when we get on the job to, obviously, we left ourselves a bit of room to manoeuvre there. So we can either box it, hammer box it, spread it, put a bit more fuller in, you know, lateral extension doesn't need to have 2 bits of fuller in. In the same breath, we don't need to jump like 3 inches into it and then make it too much, okay? So we don't have to do a lot. And again, when we think about if we're gonna weld an insert in, all we're adding to it is that little piece of steel there. And if we think of like an inch section, that's only like 3/4 of an inch jumped into itself to create that mass. You can cut it off and weigh it, you know? But really, all we're doing is adding that on to a normal shoe. So it's not as complicated as some people make it. You know, it's quite a simple shoe. It's a good shoe to put on your shoe board because, you know, it's lateral extensions can be used for all sorts. And again, you get a horse's foot which is contracted on one side, it might not be lame, it might not need fixing, but it might just want the support to allow it to engage its hocks, okay, and actually use its back end more. But it is a very common shoe. That's hot, okay? And again, what we're going on to do now is obviously clip the shoe, okay? It's probably a bit big for this foot, but actually, wasn't made for this foot, but if it was, you know, we can see how that's going to fit on the foot there. Okay, it's just given from around the second alloy, middle alloy, all the way back. It started to come out, and it's just gradually giving us more and more width all the way back. Okay, again, by the time we're taking that corner out, straighten that heel off. Okay, across there, it's going to sit pretty on that foot, and hopefully do its job and reimpose the symmetry to it. Cool. So, what I'm going to do after this, I'm going to set up an assignment on Microsoft Teams, and the assignment is to have a go. When you've had a go, okay, I want you to upload a picture to that. Now, you can have a go now if you're in the forge, or you can have a go tomorrow afternoon if you're in the forge, or even Saturday morning. Okay, but the end of play Saturday, I just want to see at least one example of you having a go, and we'll do a 3/4 fullered one, because most of you do need a bit more practice with your fullering. Again, it is just a normal fullered shoe. You don't have to put 2 bits of fuller in it, okay? You could just jump it and box it, okay? But what I'm looking for is the basics of the normal shoe to be in the right place, forged flat level, okay? Down hold position, and on the outside branch,